What's up, people? Welcome back to HFK Reactions. I'm Will, here with Rob as always, and we got a little bit of a change up in some of the stuff we've been doing. We're both sports guys,
Absolutely.
and you know I. I feel like at this point I'm sort of like a Wilt Chamberlain disciple or something.
I think you are. I
You
think
know,
you've got a lot of knowledge about it.
like I mean, I think you know there's certain people who do things that are so far outside of the realm of what people believe are possible that I feel like they need to be noted. And I got a video from Johnny Arnett. I've watched a bunch of his videos, but this one's called Wilt Chamberlain's Underrated Nights. And I've filled Rob in on a lot of different things I've found about Wilt, but like I think in this video they do a really good job of explaining to you that a lot of the time people are like, oh, it's 100 points, or he had 56 rebounds,
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, there's all these other nights, and when you really like get on a site and like look through like past NBA statistics, like you'll just see these ridiculous things that happen on these random nights that like it's like if a person were to watch that game, right, that would be the greatest performance that they ever saw a person do on a basketball.
And how many views do you think Wilt Chamberlain? Imagine if social media existed when Wilt Chamberlain played basketball.
Yeah,
He would be like the most viewed, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he would be like, and the thing, like, I've taken it to a different level lately. I believe Wilt is the greatest athlete that the world's ever seen.
Wow. That's quite a statement.
In modern times, right? Like, there's nothing. You might know somebody, a 7-footer, right? You know Sean Bradley, George Murasan, but nobody ever came to you and said they seen Sean Bradley lifting a car.
If you want to challenge Will, put somebody in the comment that you think is better.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see everybody. And we're saying athlete. Any athlete, any sport.
We're talking about a person's ability to use their physical body along with speed, agility, jumping ability, all of these different things that make up the athlete. It's like when you hear somebody say, oh yeah, that guy, like we know him as a basketball player, but he's also in the Volleyball Hall of Fame. I don't know another athlete that's in 2 Hall of Fames.
That's pretty crazy.
I don't know of one. I mean, I could definitely be wrong, but
watch the video first.
We're gonna watch this video
and then comment.
We'll have Rob react to some of these things. I might have to pause some of these things because there's a lot of these stat lines that are so out of control that I'm just gonna want to hear what Rob has to say about them. So here we go.
Here we go.
This man had nicknames like Goliath and the Record Book for a good reason. He regularly had all-around performances that resulted in video game stat lines. The only reason why they don't blow our minds when we hear them is because we've already heard them so many times. Now, concerning Wilt's greatest games, he has many, but some are so insane they demand all the and overshadow the others as a result. Those 100 points in 1962, his incredible quintuple-double game, his 55-rebound game against Bill Russell, and even his 78-point and 43-rebound game against Elgin Baylor. The thing is, Wilt has some other incredible performances that if they were achieved by literally anyone else, they would be immortalized in basketball history. But because it was Wilt that did it, it was just seen as another night and has flown under the radar. Today, we're diving into some of those games as we appreciate the great.
So do you think it's possible for somebody to be so great that they do such absurd things it looks normal?
I was planning, I was talking to Rob about this. I'm planning on doing a whole channel on Wilt.
There you go.
And I was looking up, I remember hearing a long time ago, somebody said that when the ships from Spain came over here with the Nina, the Pinta, and all, or whatever was the first, that's Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
But the people said that the Native American people couldn't see the ships because they had nothing to compare it to. It's a concept that is called perceptual blindness.
Okay.
Where you can't really understand the thing because you never seen anything like the thing. I think that's what happens with Wilt Chamberlain. Because you've never seen, I don't care what, nowhere, you've never seen anybody dominate a sport in that manner. No. There was never a dude, they were like, he was a running back, and, every time he touched the ball, it was at least like a 30, 40-yard gain. You never heard anything.
I would say you see some of these football players that are in high school, okay? Mm-hmm. Derrick Henry, I don't know if you know who Derrick Henry is.
I heard of him.
Okay, so he's running back in NFL. If you look at some of his high school games, they would be – now, remember, this is like a grown man playing with, like, juniors and, sophomores in high school. Mm-hmm. Like, he's legit 6'4", 230, like, running over people. Mm-hmm. He ran for, like, 400 and some yards and like 7 touchdowns in the game, which sounds ridiculous.
That's wild.
Right? But now he's doing that in high school. This man's doing it against professional players.
And I'm not even going to get into the fact that he had been doing this against professionals since he was 16 years old.
That too.
He played in lower level semi-pro leagues and stuff. When they asked him about it later, because he lied about it to get to play in college. But when they asked him about it, like I think it was maybe in a book, and he was explaining, he was like, they act like this was like some semi-pro ball. He was like, they were just trying to like make sure that we had gas to get to the place and stuff like that out there in Quakertown,
which we live close to.
We live close. We live, he's he's certainly the greatest Pennsylvanian athlete. Who's somebody gonna
name some people?
I mean.
All right, I got you. You got me off on, we got you a little wound up. We'll continue.
Greatest games from Wilt that no one talks about. First off, January 13th, 1962, when Wilt Chamberlain's Philadelphia Warriors defeated Walt Bellamy and the Chicago Packers 135-117. Wilt played all 48 minutes and dropped a ridiculous 73 points and 36 rebounds.
Pause it real quick. Shooting. Hold up. First of all, the man played 48 minutes in the game. When's the last time that your favorite basketball player played 48 minutes in the game?
There's not many in the NBA currently that play all the whole game anymore. Not many.
Not like I don't know. Like if they do, they'd be like they talk about it and celebrate it. It's an achievement. They're like, oh my goodness, he's an Iron Man. He went for all 48 minutes. Whoa. He averaged an entire season playing all the minutes in the game.
They consider it amazing if nowadays players play every game in a season.
Right?
This guy played every minute.
He played every minute and overtime. Now that's just about the minutes. Now, the fact that the man scored 73 points, right?
So 29 on 48, 29 made field goals on 48 shots. What's that percentage-wise? That's like
it's over 50%.
Yeah, that's like, what, 60-something? That'd be 60-some percent?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Well, some people would argue that he's also shooting close to the basket.
He's close shooting. Now, this is what I went and did. That's why I started averaging out the average height of people in the league, right?
Yeah.
And it's like when you start to really look at it, he's like the average person in the league at that time was still around 6'6".
In the 60s, you're saying?
Even in the 60s.
But
they don't make you think that, and that's highlight culture. Right. That's highlight culture. Yeah. They're like, look at that little guy running around. It's like you're not paying attention to the dude who's actually guarding him, who's 6'10".
That's an easy thing to say and make people believe about that time period, right?
Yeah, it's
easy misnomer.
This is why I gotta talk about it. It's because it's so crazy. There's a lot of important things happening in the world, but I just think that this is a great example of how you can kind of like sort of whitewash a history or like perceptually. You know what I mean? Like the fact that this man put these numbers up and your favorite basketball player never did anything remotely close to that is notable.
Here's a question: I play fantasy basketball, who else? If you could pick any player in the history of basketball, other than maybe Oscar, from fantasy standpoint, Oscar Robertson, that had many, many triple doubles, who else would you pick? Who else would you pick? Blocks, field goal percentage is good, rebound, points. I mean, obviously back then they didn't shoot 3-pointers, did they?
No, they didn't have 3-point
but
line.
You're not. I mean, that's the only thing that any other player would have over him from a fantasy standpoint.
He dropped 73 on a person in
That's
Converse.
crazy. There's centers now that they're just happy they get 10 points a game out of them.
Some people just need 6.
Yeah.
They need 8 points to be like, he had a solid performance.
He has like careers in one games of players. You know what I mean? Like there's some players that don't even get 36 rebounds in a career. That play a couple of years.
I remember hearing Bill Russell say it one time. He said that when they put Dennis Rodman on the cover of Sports Illustrated and said, "Is this the greatest rebounder ever?" He said that Bill Russell said that pissed Wilt off because he said Wilt was like, "I have more rebounds in a quarter than I have the whole game," and that's not a lie. That wasn't it's not even really a flex. It's just the truth.
The energy you would have to use to get 73 points and 36 rebounds.
Think about that.
That would be pretty exhausting.
I watch people get tired running up and down the court in some, some like pickup situation.
Stop talking about me like that.
Listen, I was pretty tired myself today. I was like, oh, I was winded. But let's get back to it. Let's see.
We could ramble on.
Because this is going to continue.
Yeah.
Wilt clearly only had one thing on his mind this night, as he didn't record a single assist. January 25th, 1960, when Wilt Chamberlain's Philadelphia Warriors defeated the Detroit Pistons 127-117. This was Chamberlain's rookie season, and he was still in his early 20s. But despite being the new kid on the block, he still dominated on a historic level.
Oh, that's a fadeaway.
42 rebounds, and 4 assists.
A rookie.
What rookie you ever saw had 58
His
points
58
and 42
points
rebounds?
is still the most points ever scored by a rookie in a single game.
It's all over
And his
Sports Center if you
42
score
rebounds is also the most by a rookie, with
Let
the
me-
exception of 3 other nights that eclipsed this total during that same rookie season. On February 9th, 1969, Wilt Chamberlain's Los Angeles Lakers defeated the Phoenix Suns as he poured in 66 points, 27 rebounds, and
Older Wilt.
Incredibly, he made
Okay,
29
so hold on.
out of his 35 shots.
So how old is he in 1969?
That's
Let's fact check that quick.
I want to see something real quick.
Will comes prepared. He got notes.
Listen, I had to get notes because I got tired of people talking stupid.
See, he's ready for any argument with Will.
It's just stupid talk. Now I'm not sure. I'm not going to look it up. But what I'm going to say is that this man is he is no longer. He's about to retire.
What year did he retire? 70? 72?
Maybe.
Okay.
But he's
it's winding down.
End of his career. And it's like, what person do you know in the twilight of their career dropped 66 points?
Well, okay.
Besides Kobe in his 80, not that in his 60.
The one where they kind of let him score.
Yeah. I don't feel like this was a scheme.
No.
I don't, like this.
We don't want bad mouth Kobe. Don't get us wrong, but
playing against Bum, and they're like playing against Bum. That's Connie Hawkins. That's Connie Hawkins. That's not like some bum. Connie Hawkins is a legend.
We better continue. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Keep going. This is crazy.
Which is a field goal percentage of 82.9%.
82.9%.
A field goal percentage. This is still the most efficient scoring performance in NBA history by a player with at least 60 points. This remarkable performance came pretty late in his career, as it was not only his last 60-point game, but it was even his last 50-point game that he would ever have.
They didn't say 40.
On February 2nd, 1968, Wilt's 76ers defeated the Detroit Pistons 131 to 121. And he didn't just have a triple-double on this night, but he actually got 2 triple-doubles worth in the same game, as he put up 22 points, 25 rebounds, and 21 assists on 69.2% shooting. To this day, Wilt and Russell Westbrook are the only 2 players in league history to achieve the 20-20-20 triple-double. March
Only
31st,
one of 2 players.
1967, Wilt's
Interesting.
76ers defeated Bill Russell and the Celtics in Game 1 of the Eastern Division Finals.
I just can't get his
127 to 113.
wingspan. It's
Bill
crazy.
Russell is commonly known for outshining Wilt Chamberlain in the postseason, but this was certainly not the case in 1967, as Wilt dropped an unofficial quadruple-double of 24 points, 32 rebounds, 13 assists, and 12 block shots on
Jeez.
69.2% shooting. His 12 block shots were tracked by the respected Harvey Pollack
Did they play
years
the
before
same
the league made blocks an
quarters
official
back then
stat.
they do now?
If this quadruple-double was recognized as an official achievement,
I was thinking it
then
was
it
shorter.
would still stand today as the only quadruple-double in NBA playoff history. And the fact that it came against arguably the greatest defender ever only makes it more impressive.
And the
On
greatest,
February 24th,
greatest franchise in
1967,
women in
Wilt's
American
76ers
sports.
defeated the Baltimore Bullets 149 to 118. On this night, Wilt had one of the greatest triple-doubles of all time, as he dropped 42 points, 30 rebounds, and 10 assists
18
on
for
100%
18.
shooting. Yep, you heard
He
me
didn't miss a
correctly.
shot.
He didn't miss any
Do they
of
keep
his
track of
18
steals
shot
back at this
attempts,
time?
which is the
Fine.
most shots ever taken without
So I
a
feel like he
miss.
probably had a lot of
It's
steals.
unfortunate
Probably,
that we
right?
don't have his blocks numbers from this game. Otherwise, this stupid stat line would look even
You don't even
stupider.
know how many shots he got.
October 23rd, 1965.
Whoa.
Wilt's 76ers
So that last
defeated
one
the
where you
Detroit
had a-
Pistons
So let's
120
go
do
back.
real quick. Let's real quick. We're gonna ponder replay.
So in this game,
October 23rd, 1965. Wilt's 76ers defeated the Detroit Pistons
I need that stat
120 to
line. Hit me.
103. It was another insanely efficient night for Wilt, as he
Okay.
unofficially dropped 53 points,
oh,
21 rebounds,
I thought he said
two
they weren't
assists,
keeping track of
and
blocks.
15 blocks on
No,
84% shooting.
The
The
one
only
guy,
unofficial
okay,
part
let's pause
of
real
Wilt's
quick.
stat line is the block shots.
So let's
which
dive
was-
in. There you go, Harvey Pollack.
Okay.
He was a statistician. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's the guy whose idea it was for Wilt to hold up the 100 when he scored.
Oh, the sign. Yeah.
So
okay.
he was into keeping blocks,
Okay.
even though they weren't officially
Stat-
statistics
okay.
of
Okay. Gotcha.
the NBA at the time.
Okay.
So when they see these with these asterisks next to it,
Mm.
that's what he recorded himself,
Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha.
Because he was actually counting blocks
Okay.
before the NBA thought it was a good idea.
Gotcha. All right. That's why I thought he was. Okay. I misunderstood.
Once again, tracked by Harvey Pollack. With the blocks, it's one of the greatest two-way performances of all time, and without him, it's still pretty darn incredible. February 25th, 1962. In the only loss on the list, Wilt's Warriors were defeated by the New York Knicks 149 to 135.
His head is
On
above
this
the rim.
evening, Chamberlain put up 67 points, 21 rebounds, and 1 assist on
Missed
65.8%
13 shots.
shooting. Now, this game by itself is incredible, but what's most significant about this performance is that it was the beginning of an incredible streak. Other than Wilt Chamberlain, no player in NBA history has ever scored at least 60 points in back-to-back games. Starting with this game, Wilt did this in 4 straight games, and the fourth game
Man.
was 100 points.
That was the lead up.
Unfortunately, Wilt really disappointed everyone when the streak ended in the 5th game, where he had an off night and scored only 58
What's wrong
points.
with him?
The craziest part about this list is that there's so many games that didn't make the cut, and I could easily do a part 2 and a part 3. And to think that some people have the audacity to say that this man isn't in the top 10. So now it's your turn.
Some people say he's not in
What
the
do you
top
think
10.
is
There's
Wilt
people who
Chamberlain's
argue.
most underrated performance? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
So
I'm not. He didn't show the quadruple whatever.
No, because this is about his off nights. This is just about underrated nights.
Right.
This isn't even about
This isn't his good nights.
This isn't even about like these are just like think about that. These aren't even the main nights. These are the things that would define people's entire careers, and they're not even his main nights.
On his off nights, he's averaging like 34.
Where is this basketball player with that level of dominance over the game? Where is there any athlete who had that much of a lead over the rest of his competition in his time? People act like he's like they're like, well he's tall. The average person that year when he averaged 50, the average person who guarded him, I averaged out their heights.
Mm-hmm.
The average person was like 6'10". There's a lot of 6'10" people in the league right now playing center.
Not a lot of great ones. Not a lot of good ones. Not a lot of good ones.
Not a lot of great ones. But it's like that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
So what was your reaction to it? You never seen it.
Well,
I mean,
we've had conversations. The fact that these are his off nights is what's astounding to me. That I watch a lot of basketball now. I love fantasy basketball. Big basketball fan. My sports are basketball, baseball, football. More basketball and football for sure. But it's pretty. His worst nights are some of the best players in the NBA now, 2 or 3 nights combined.
Yeah.
And I've never heard on a video where they're talking about his worst nights, I've never heard a commentator say, the only person in the history of the sport so many times.
Yeah.
So I got to believe, if we looked at the record book, his name's all over it, first off.
There's still a bunch of there's records he has that will never be broken.
So as far as, in the previous conversation me and you have had, I didn't really know much about Wilt. I knew he was a great player, but the conversations, you have enlightened me on how great his greatness.
Yeah.
And I think every time I watch something, I think it says a lot about a player. Even though you're learning more and more about somebody's greatness, but you continue to watch more and more or listen or talk to somebody and learn something, and they're still even greater than the last time you thought or previous. It just shows how truly great they are.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And I can't think of now, like I said, I'm a baseball guy, more football and basketball. I can't think of somebody, just overall athlete, that would be better. Because I know you got some things that we didn't even talk about that truly.
This is just about basketball.
Right.
It's not even about the fact, there's so many more facets of his life that contribute to this idea that anytime he stepped into any sporting arena, he was the apex predator.
I don't think there's anybody. So, you want to talk about great football players. Tom Brady, most would argue Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. Most people would agree with that. And some would argue he's the greatest player. Some would argue in the NFL ever. Whatever. Mm-hmm. But I don't think what Wilt did with also highly intelligent, what Tom Brady did with Tom Brady more was a cerebral. I can't say that.
Cerebral. I know.
Thank you. He was more of that kind of player. Yes, of course, he's in the NFL. He's athletic more than any of us. We just see him against other guys that are way more athletic. So he was more of a thinker on the football field. I don't think when I hear people talk about Wilt Chamberlain, I hear them talk about the thinker part, but when you combine both of them, that's what makes him probably so great too.
Yeah, there's just this idea that I think certain people are born at times when their greatness isn't really on display to the maximum, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
there's less than 1% of his career on film.
On film. Yeah.
Less than 1%.
Yeah, like I said earlier, if he was the same player he was back then today and dominated, which more than likely, if you look at the centers play in the NBA today, Jokic is the best center, and after that, there's a couple guys, and then the next tier down is
Like
pretty bad.
and then
Embiid, you got the guy from Miami. He's Bam. I can't think of his name. Yeah, he's pretty good. You got a couple guys that are in that second tier, close to the first tier, right?
I like those people, but nobody ever told no. Okay, they say, well, they're so much more conditioned and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really care about that because nobody ever told a story about Bam Adebayo picked up a car.
Yeah, or these people.
Nobody ever said anything like that, right? Nobody ever said none of these people went in the gym with Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime,
Right.
and Arnold said on the thing he outlifted him and was doing what the biggest guys were doing in there.
But people of today, their greatness is documented, and you know what I mean. Like you could see Saquon Barkley, the Eagles running back. They have thousands of videos of him in the gym to prove your point. Mm-hmm. You know, squatting like they say he squats absurd amount of weight, and that's videotaped, and people share that, and people watch. You imagine these things happening if Wilt Chamberlain did these similar things nowadays? He would be the number one person shared, liked, commented on, viewed in America. You know what I mean? In this world today.
Yeah, there was. He would have been the. I mean, like I said, I have respect for all, me. I grew up a Jordan guy, and Jordan is my guy. But I remember this one time I was watching something, and Wilt was having this conversation with this guy, and Wilt said, "Hey," he said, "Let's say that there was a game of 1-on-1 between the two best players you ever seen." He said, "Who would you pick?" And the guy was like, "Well, I picked Jordan." And then he said, "So you picked Jordan in his prime over me in my prime?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm picking Jordan." He said, "Would you put money on that?" And he didn't say that in like you know what I mean, like a joking way,
right?
Because the reality of it is it. I mean, if you took those two in their prime, they played a game of 1-on-1. Wilt Chamberlain's going to block some of them shots.
Absolutely.
And I'm not so sure that Michael Jordan could prevent Wilt Chamberlain from backing him down, because people tell stories about him getting luggage up and putting it up to people's windows in a hotel, and talk about him lifting cars and all this. I'd have a hard time to believe that Michael Jordan could prevent Wilt Chamberlain from scoring a basketball more than once. Maybe. I have a hard time believing that. And this is me as I love Mike, like that. But that's.
And it's also, everybody wants to talk about the greatest of all time. How do we gauge greatness? So like, I don't know. In my mind, I'm thinking this is like, how do you gauge, like you just said, I would agree with your statement about what between Michael Jordan and him. I don't think that there would even be a close contest because of just how athletically gifted Wilt was. And
we're not talking about some bumbling 7'1" guy.
The wingspan.
We're talking about a Harlem Globetrotter.
I'm a short guy that's played basketball all his life. And the worst thing it is playing basketball is against like somebody like you that's athletic and taller than me. Because there's no going, if I can't get around you, I certainly have a hard time shooting over you, because either you're going to block it or your hand in my face is going to be is a tough thing to shoot over. Now,
guy told me that I had a huge wingspan. He was like, "The wingspan is crazy." I was like, it's longer than you think.
And people don't discredit that wingspan. Look at Wemby. Look at the guy now today.
Think about that.
Think about his wingspan, and I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination he's Wilt Chamberlain, but his body, his his wingspan is probably similar, I would bet, to Wilt Chamberlain.
Victor Wembanyama is great.
Yeah.
He has a great jumper. He he's I think he changes the field of what pro basketball looks like right now. Because now people are going to be trying to figure out how they can find these kinds of unicorns somewhere.
Yep.
And he's great and all that, but in his rookie season, that man never put no 50 points on somebody in 40-some, 30-some. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the thing. It's like you have to give that its due, because I understand that you could count greatness in rings. I understand I understand that. That will put Bill Russell, above.
He would be the greatest of all
people in all sports.
Absolutely.
He would be the greatest American.
I think Tom has
champion.
7.
Yeah.
Bill Russell has 9.
11.
Well, not 11.
Yeah, more rings than fingers.
Okay.
Right. But something is to be said about somebody who can do something that literally nobody else in their sport can do. Not just in their time, but all throughout the entire history of the game. You've never seen anybody put numbers. There's nobody that was like, they just regularly put numbers up like that. Nobody was existing like that. And they still don't exist. So it's like, I don't understand how you don't give him his respect.
Will's season was averaging career nights.
Yeah.
What they say is a career night, and you hear guys all the time now in the NBA, oh, he had a career night. That's Will's every night.
Yeah, Wilt's
or Wilt, sorry.
No, but
I'm thinking of Will.
Hey, listen, man, I stole a lot of Wilt's games. Man, I learned from him, because a lot of people, when you look at those highlights, this wasn't just somebody being 7'1" and shacking little and doing some shack stuff to little people. And now, don't get me wrong, he dunked on a lot of people, but you never really see him dislodge people. You see him. This is the wildest part. Wilt Chamberlain was, I believe, the strongest person to ever play in the NBA, and he was actually a finesse player. He shot fadeaways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what? That's
I think he's a rare combination of one of those human beings that you may never. Maybe there's another guy that'll come along, but you may never see again, just because of those kind of intangibles you talked about, like the weightlifting thing that he did with Arnold. What he raced Jim Brown, right?
Jim Brown. He said he beat Jim Brown, and I was talking. They were like, Jim Brown wasn't that fast. I was like, well, he was a professional running back.
He was a running back he was one of the greatest running backs in the NFL history.
Wilt ran track in college. He was like a Big Six champion. Like I think it was Big Six. I think that's what they called that. But he was a champion level track and field guy.
You imagine Wilt as a wide receiver.
The Kansas City Chiefs had the rights to Wilt.
Did they?
Yeah, because they just drafted.
Right,
I'm pretty sure it was the Kansas City Chiefs got the rights to Wilt, just just in case. But he never played football. Like, not that I know of. But how are you going to draft somebody who never played football? Well, when have you known somebody to be drafted for a sport and they didn't play the sport?
Well, there's guys in NFL that Jordan Mailata.
Who's that?
He's a left tackle for the Eagles. He actually, you want to talk about like somebody that's kind of pretty gifted for a big man. This dude's like 6'6", 3 something. He played rugby. And his rugby footage is scary. People trying to tackle him and stuff.
I'm glad that they started getting rugby dudes, because that's a different kind of toughness.
So now he's the Eagles drafted him in the 7th round, never played NFL. Drafted him in the 7th round to play offensive line. And now the Eagles have a very good offensive line coach, one of the greatest ones in the history of NFL. He's turned him into a top 5 offensive tackle in the NFL.
That's awesome.
But You're talking about a guy that was very gifted athletically, very hardworking from all everything you read, and you know what I mean. And it was just a combination of that coach with that's turned a lot of guys out of college into good offensive linemen. The Eagles are very lucky to have him, and but he's still not. Now he's a different guy. He's bigger. Like he's thicker. You know what I mean? Like he's 300 and probably 30 pounds. And 6'6". That's a different kind of guy. And he has to be. He has to be that big to play in the NFL.
Really,
But like, there's just not guys that are really getting drafted. I mean, usually, so Wilt got drafted to be a wide receiver, which is more of a skilled position.
Yeah.
You're not getting typically the guys that they've done it where they've tried to convert guys from other stuff into the NFL. The skilled position guys hardly ever work out. Mm-hmm. Now, offensive linemen, it's a little easier because you're already, if you're transitioning, you're more athletic already. You know what I mean? So you typically those guys, like somebody like that has a better chance, and it's more physical being an offensive line. You're not there's certain things you have to be and footwork you have to be to be a wide receiver.
Yeah, really.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And
I love playing wide receiver.
I don't know. I mean, that's crazy.
But it's just like I said, it's just I just think that that it gets lost on people. I can see if there was somebody who did comparable things, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that there's no one literally there's certain you will never, if you see anybody who ever had 40 some points and over 30 some rebounds, there's no other person who you could think of that it would be.
Right.
There's not at any time. You know what I mean? So it's I just want people
career nights of recent big men. Think about Shaq or Dwight Howard in his prime was if he got 2020, that was
man,
that's a big night, and it's all over the news. I mean, I don't know when I would have to go back and look at Wemby's career night from his rookie season, but
But and that's the thing.
It's not that 20 rebound. He's scoring 20 points maybe. I don't think and he gets some blocks. He's averaging 4 or 5 blocks a game, but that what was his one game? What was the quadruple? Whatever it was. Tell me again.
This is what he had the quintuple double.
Yeah,
but it's unofficial because they didn't have blocks. So this is what it was. 53 points, 32 rebounds, 14 assists. Now, all of those were official because they were actually winning the stats book. But then they also said he had 11 steals and 24 blocks, which weren't kept.
Yeah.
So, when you tell somebody about that, then what do they say? But yeah, he's probably playing against some 6'7" guy. I mean, he's just towering over the guy. His opposing center was a guy named Mel Counts. He was a 7-footer, and he was a 2-time NBA champion.
So this is who played defense against him on that night.
Him that night. A 2-time NBA champion 7-footer.
So, you listen. You're never gonna get. I can't keep up with this.
It's unheard of. It's not even. It's not conceivable to people. They're just oh, what? It's it's like when you how it is when you say something when you're talking to somebody and whatever you kind of lay on them is a little bit too deep, and then they just start to kind of gloss over it.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
In the form of a sport.
Yeah. It's a shame. I mean, it's like I say with I think we're losing too much of our history. You know what I mean? We're losing, you're talking about a certain generation that lived through the Great Depression that now pretty much most of them have passed away. That's those stories and information that you will never have. Yeah, there's the internet. Great. There's people that wrote books on it, but there's information that we will never have access again because that generation is gone. And I think the further we get away from guys like Wilt, the less of the information and the stories, right? Your grandpa always saw Wilt play, or you know what I mean? And people lose when you don't have that conversation with your family members and stuff. You lose that awareness of how great some of these players were, or how great they were.
I think about stuff like, I think a lot of people they're like, well, he towered over people and then he scored on people. But it's like, well, how do you explain the fact that he's the only center to ever lead the league in assists? If his greatness was only relegated to his scoring ability, how did that happen? How did he have 56 rebounds in a game on the Boston Celtics? That was the
when they were getting their runs of championship
at the time when they were collectively the greatest basketball.
So what position did Bill Russell play?
He was a center.
Okay, so they faced each other.
Absolutely.
Bill Russell, known for his defense, he was a good rebounder.
Bill Russell was what they would call a defensive stopper.
Okay.
He was a great defender. He's known for his shot blocking ability.
Be interesting to break down how much he averaged. I'm assuming he played Bill Russell quite a few times.
Oh yeah, they had a big rivalry, man. They were friends. I heard Bill Russell said one time, he said that he would go to Wilt's parents' house when they played Philly, and he would go there and he would eat, and then he would go up and fall asleep and take a nap at Wilt's parents' house. And then Wilt said, then the game comes and he's out there and he's like kicking my butt. Now think about that. How many greats can talk about somebody else kicking their butt?
Not many.
Not many can say that. They get up on TV and start saying stuff like, I'm the greatest. I never heard Wilt ever say he was the greatest. And there's very few people who actually have statistics to suggest that. I don't understand why people. I guess really though, it's like you said, it's time. It's time.
Yeah.
You see what you see, and unless you're a student of it, you don't have to. You don't get to see it. You know what I mean? You don't care about it.
I think you have this affinity for him because you understand history. You want to go back and find out the truth and find out like what you go back into history and do research, and you also play basketball, which is a whole nother side of it, and play it a certain way. And I think that's kind of like why this kind of strikes some kind of chord with you when people talk about him.
I mean, I think it strikes a chord because I've been on a basketball court, and anybody who's ever scored more than 30 points in a game understands the amount of energy that goes into something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So for a person to be doing anything like scoring 73 points and not taking a rest, and all these are inconceivable things when you hold that kind of thing up to everybody else who you've ever seen play professional basketball.
I scored 8 points the other day on Tuesday, Thursday.
Huh?
Threw my back out when I got home. Had to lay on the couch for 3 days.
This man.
I'm not trying to compare myself to Wilt. I'm just saying it was painful.
It's true though. Like people talk about, I think LeBron's longevity, but from what I understand, Wilt was getting offers to play in the league in his later 40s. There's people who played Wilt in pickup games and said that the greatest player they ever played against was like a 40-something-year-old Wilt Chamberlain in a pickup game at UCLA.
Wasn't he retired when he played against Magic in the Lakers? And he picked up all the kids from UCLA.
That's the thing the Larry Brown video when Larry Brown was coaching at UCLA.
But was he retired then?
Yeah, he was retired.
Okay.
This is like the 80s.
Okay.
So he's and which
That
he
story is
played,
crazy to me,
He
too.
almost played in the league in the 80s. Think about that. He was in 1962. He was the rookie of the year, and still almost played in the 1980s. So that's what I mean. Like when I would see, they showed this one where they showed him at like 50, and he could easily just go up and still dunk.
Right.
Then they showed Shaq do it,
Yeah.
and he used to he like missing on the back of the rim. He's holding on. But it's like just in comparison, it's like that man kept himself in shape to the point where they believe he could play in the league in his late 40s.
I think Shaq probably hasn't given up the donuts lately.
Well, Shaq's not. I mean, that was this time where Shaq was really into
he was
getting his physique back.
Yeah,
that's a lot of work though.
Right.
I think that was just who Wilt was. Like Wilt enjoyed being a physical specimen like none other.
There's some people that just enjoy being physically fit. It doesn't matter what age they are, and that's.
He was a gamer. You know what I mean? Like people said, like I heard what's his name, Sonny Hill said, like, what's the sport? They didn't know that he played. He was like water polo. It's like, think about this. Like what? There's no other person in my estimation that's comparable. I enjoy learning about all of the greats of every sport. I love seeing soccer greats, football greats. I watch documentaries about them and all kinds of stuff. On none of those things did I ever see a person who was remotely as dominating in so many different aspects of sports than him.
Well, this would go back to your argument that he was the greatest athlete ever.
That's what I mean. That's the basketball player. You know what I mean? That's you got people have their own criteria for what makes somebody great. If it doesn't make a person great to have 70-some points and 40-some rebounds, and just who else did that? But aside from that, we're talking about somebody who ran track who beat an Olympic shot putter. Like,
so I was watching the Olympics, a little bit of the Olympics, and I was watching the highlights because I was at some place and then we were eating and they had the Olympics on. And Chase Buttinger, I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah, I know Chase. I was watching him play volleyball. Yeah.
So he quit basketball to concentrate on volleyball.
I didn't know the backstory, but I'm glad you told me. I was trying to find out more on that.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he played at Arizona, basketball at Arizona, and then went into the NBA. And then he quit
for the Rockets.
Yeah, and then he quit and went. And now he plays professional volleyball. So, what's crazy is that Wilt Chamberlain's the Hall of Fame for basketball. Didn't have to quit basketball to go become a great volleyball player, but he's also in the Hall of Fame for volleyball.
Well, he did. It did come after his retirement. Like after his retirement, he wasn't Chase Buttinger. He wasn't putting up Chase Buttinger numbers. but after he got done in the league, can you imagine getting done with the sport you just dominated, and then going into another sport? And there's people who say, like, he was one of the greatest. He was playing on the beach, and he formed the first or one of the first like professional volleyball leagues in the country.
Really?
Yeah, he was like the. So imagine, not only like you form this league, right?
Just so everybody knows, 10 years from now, there's going to be a book that comes out. Will's going to be the author. Once he collects enough information, I'm telling you.
The information is everywhere. Like, can you
maybe
imagine
not 10 years, maybe 5 years.
This guy's running the league and is simultaneously at that time considered a volleyball great. Running the league and is also in the Hall of Fame. Like, there's no people like that.
I think we could probably go on for another 3 hours.
It's crazy. It's too crazy, man.
So just so we can recap, If you think you know a better athlete than Wilt Chamberlain, Will would like you to post it in the comments.
Just tell me who you
think.
Because I want to see something about him.
Maybe there's somebody. I mean,
I love the greats. I love listen, all the people who you gonna talk about, Dion and them. I love Dion. I love Bo Jackson. These people are they're very influential to me, and
Bo Jackson didn't have the durability though.
I learned a lot from all of them. Jim Thorpe, whoever you want to talk about. I'm trying to tell you, there was no other person who could,
Down in the
get
comment,
get on the level.
Get Will fired up. Down in the comment, say some names.
Listen, I just want to know. Put me up on
And
it.
maybe the next video, if you guys put some comments in the video, we'll review. Instead of reviewing the video, we'll review the comments.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Because I want to go through that. I want to go see.
We'll review the comments, and maybe we'll get. I'll put together some footage.
That's what I want to see.
Of some of the people you guys put in the comments.
Yeah.
If that happens. But I hope you comment. I hope you share. I hope you like. I hope you enjoy
all the YouTube.
All the things we need to, get up in that algorithm and all that heebie-jeebie good stuff.
So we need to put buttons in the air like subscribe.
Oh yeah. Well, sadly I do that sometimes.
That's okay. It's all right. But we don't need to.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. That'd be great. So, all right. See you tonight.